So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using copper wire, although copper can turn your ears green, but I recommend practicing using copper before you make these in sterling silver. So this is 20 gauge dead soft round copper from Rio Grande. You would want to use the same exact type of wire in sterling silver, for example, to make these. But if you practice on copper, then it's, a lot cheaper than practicing on silver, which is a lot more expensive. But you would do this exactly in the same way with exactly the same shape, size wire. The only thing is you can use thicker wire if you want to go up to 18 gauge, but I find that 20 gauge is kind of a nice size that works well also, especially if you it's like more comfortable to put it through your ear because it's a little bit on the thinner side. So you just want 2 pieces for your 2 earring hooks, and mine measure about almost 3 inches. Let's just say 3 inches, even though it's a little bit shorter. And I am going to take these here, which are bail making pliers. They have little rounded bits here for making loops. And the first thing you want to do is to trim the ends of your wire using your wire cutters. Mine are Swanstrom brand, and you want this portion to be facing this way so that when you trim, because if you haven't noticed, when you trim with these, whatever touches this side ends up having like a flat look to it, and the other side has more of like a pinched look to it. So now that we did that, and the little ends of our wires are nice and flat, I don't know how well it shows here on the video, but that's what they are. I'm going to try and kind of straighten this a little bit because they're curved. All right, and line them up. Let me zoom in a little bit. Here they are right next to each other. And you can use a larger size, but I'm going to use the smallest size. This is going to be the loop of the earring hook that the earring hangs on. So whatever size you want your loop to be, that's what you want to use. I want it to be really small. So there's my wires. This can be tricky doing both at the same time, but it's worth getting the hang of it, because then they'll just be done quicker and they'll both be exactly the same. Here they are, you can see from this angle, and with my finger, while this is still being held, I am putting in a curve here on both of these wires at the same time. Now, the shapes of the actual earring hooks, there's so many different shapes that these can be, right? So it's up to you whether you want to make them shorter or taller or more curved or less curved. That's something that you are going to need to work out on your own. But for me, I like to just curve them with my finger. You can curve them around something as well if you don't want to curve them with your finger. And this way, they're exactly the same. Now I'm just gonna hold them together like this. And here, kind of where the loop is that on this wire, I'm gonna come in here, grab them with these bail making pliers again, kind of curve them up like this. Line them up this way so they're just stacked one right on top of the other, and again with this flat side of my cutters facing the earring hooks, I am going to trim, and here we go. That's what that looks like. This little edge is flat because of the way we positioned our wire cutters. Now you want to hammer these. I'm going to hammer one at a time. You are going to need an iron block. Do this on the ground. I'm just doing it in the air to show you. But you just want to put this down, and first we are going to hammer this little loop you can see it has a flatter look to it now. That made it a little bit stronger. Now we want to go up here and hammer this curved portion, but very gently. You don't want to hammer it super flat because then it's going to become thick and it might be uncomfortable to wear. All right, so I just very gently hammered it, trying not to flatten the wire too much, just enough to give it some strength because this is dead soft wire, which is quite floppy. I'm going to kind of close this a little bit like that. All right, and the earring hook is almost complete. The only thing is we have to file this little end so it's not sharp or pokey when you're putting it through your ear. So what I like to do is just to take some sandpaper. Sorry, this is like a really disheveled little piece of sandpaper, but I can't find my full roll right now. This is just extra fine sandpaper, very fine grit. And you just want to go over, not just flat like this, but also on the edges as well. Because when we cut it flat, it developed some edges, as you can see there. And we want those little edges of that little tip of the earring hook to be nice and smooth and fine. And as you do this, you can kind of feel it with your finger, see if it scratches and if it feels pokey to you, and then just kind of keep going with it until you've smoothed it enough so that it feels nice. They also sell tools to do this. It's like a little, I don't know how to describe it, but you put the little end of the wire into the tool and it kind of grinds. It's smooth, but you can just use sandpaper. You don't have to buy any special tool. So here's my little earring hooks, just very, very basic, plain ones. You can obviously get fancy and make these in all sorts of different shapes. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it gave you a good idea of how to make simple earring hooks. Thanks for watching.